Hi everyone, my name is Jada, and today I will be discussing my analysis of the Jewish religion. I chose to do my presentation today on Judaism because although it is not a religion that I practice or a culture that I consider myself associated with or a part of, it is something that I have been exposed to throughout my entire life. I am half adopted on one side of my family, so my adopted mother was raised Jewish. All of her family is Jewish. All my aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents on her side of the family are Jewish. And then on my blood side of the family, we do not practice Judaism. However, I have a lot of relatives on my blood side that married individuals who do practice Judaism, and then they chose to raise their kids via practicing the Jewish religion. So I have an abundance of cousins who practice Judaism. I've been to so many bat and bar mitzvahs, and it's a culture that I've had the privilege of being surrounded by my entire life. However, it is not a religion that I consider myself a part of. Anyway, today I thought I would discuss, starting off with just a few basic facts about Judaism before I get into the topics that we discussed throughout class. Some of the origins of Judaism: it is an ancient Abrahamic religion that dates back about 3,000 years. Initially originated in the Middle East by Abraham, but then later was led by Moses and a lot of ancient Hebrews in what is now considered modern-day Israel. Some basic forms of everyday life for Jewish people and their basic beliefs: they believe in the existence of one indivisible God, the covenant of Abraham, and then the laws that are discussed in the Torah, which is their ancient text. The first topic that I'd like to discuss that relates to what we talked about in class is individualism versus collectivism within the Jewish culture. To start off, Judaism practices a lot of elements of individual collectivism. In the Jewish community, there's a lot of communal responsibilities. So they all have some aspect of daily life that they have to participate in within their community. They have a saying that says that all of Israel is responsible for one another, which just truly emphasizes the importance of community and the commitment that the Jewish people have to one another and the basic benefit to one another in their culture as well. The Jewish faith has a strong nationalistic value, and they believed that when they received the Torah, they received it as a single unified nation in one of it itself. Collectivism is continuously practiced throughout the Jewish faith in many of their communal places of worship, like a synagogue or any other community center, and in Hebrew school and things like that. They definitely interact with one another and have a strong sense of community within the religion itself. Another aspect of it that is a little bit contrary to the collectivism: they have some influences of individualism that they discuss throughout the religion. There are elements of it. They do believe in individualized dignity, freedom, and self-determination, and they think these are vital qualities that a Jewish person should have. They also believe in personal responsibility and how that is important as a Jewish person. There is a statement that says, "If I'm not for myself, who will be?" basically emphasizing that you must care and take importance and value in yourself. And they also have teachings that talk about valuing individual uniqueness that is highlighted and very important throughout the Jewish faith. However, I do believe that all the importance that's put on bettering yourself as an individual can be implemented to the betterment of the community. So I do think, although they have a lot of emphasis on individualism and your own uniqueness, it's more so to benefit the community. You know what I mean? A lot of what they talk about with individualism can translate over to the benefit of the community, because if every Jewish person is the best version of themselves, the community is the best version of themselves. So in conclusion, I do believe Judaism to be more collectivist, because at the end of the day, a lot of what they do is for the benefit of the community as a whole. The second aspect I did a lot of research on was masculinity versus femininity. This one I found really, really interesting when doing my research. Some key masculine roles in Jewish communities for men include definitely religious study. They are required to take part in community participation. They provide pleasure to their family. They're involved in childcare. And then a kind of new thing that has been added for men in Jewish cultures is the household chores, but mainly they care for the family, provide for the family. And then in cases where they are within the temple, they take more like leadership roles as well. Some key feminine roles within Jewish communities: they are the keeper of the home. So they are solely responsible, not solely, but take on the bulk of responsibility of creating a Jewish atmosphere within the home, and they maintain that kosher diet that's very, very important to Jewish people. They are the only ones who are allowed to light the Shabbat candles, so that is something that only women are allowed to do in Jewish cultures. They take on a bulk of the child raising and maintaining that spirituality influence within the home. Whether or not I think it's a masculine or a feminine culture and community, you kind of have to look at it from a global scale. I think generally, as a worldview, every culture is a masculine culture. If we look at the patriarchy and we look at every culture, usually the people being highlighted, the ones that have the most influence and are in more of the powerful positions, are the men. And that is just typical. And that's not to say that, especially within the Jewish communities, they do not highly respect their women, because they do. The job of a mother is very, very important, and that is definitely highlighted. And they have immense respect for the women, but traditionally the men have more power, and they are more highlighted within the religion. They are the rabbis. They have all of the bigger, more religious influence and power, whereas women do not. So I think in general terms, although they do really, really respect their women, Judaism is a masculine culture. And that's not to say that there isn't some progression that's going away from that in any way. We've seen in some liberal and more progressive Jewish communities, women are starting to take up more of these leadership roles, but traditionally these roles are not taken up by women, they are taken up by men. And then the last topic I wanted to discuss today was long-term versus short-term oriented as the Jewish community as a whole. I thought this really was interesting when I was researching it. Judaism is definitely long-term goal oriented. Their faith is very deeply empathetic to the proceedings, and they really want to document and have clear accounts of all of their experiences so that future generations can look back and read about and discuss and talk about what Jews were doing before this new generation came. So there's a big emphasis on having their traditions be passed down and those values be passed down across multiple generations. The Jewish religion values preservation of all these findings of narratives, of scriptures, of readings, stuff like that. They all want it to connect to Jewish people, past and present. So that's really, really important, and just making sure that the future of their faith will still uphold. And so they are definitely long-term goal oriented. They want to see their faith take shape once they're gone, once their grandchildren are gone. They want it to be continued down the line. And I think that goal is really, really important, because we've seen with things like the Holocaust, their religion almost ceased to exist. And so that is really damaging and traumatizing for that entire religion. And they really, really emphasize the importance of having it continue and making sure and working really hard to make sure that their religion does not lose its value and its influence and its traditions. So they are looking to better their current for the future, if that makes any sense. They want to promote everything that they're doing right now so it can help the future generation of Jewish people. Yeah. And I thought that was very, very interesting. And it makes a lot of sense, because with something like the Holocaust that completely changed how a religion runs, they really, really need and they really emphasize the importance of having it continue for eternity. And then the one object I want to show today is a menorah. So this is a menorah that my family has. We do not use it. We do not celebrate Hanukkah, but this is used throughout many Jewish households, and it is used during Hanukkah, and you'll light one candle a night, and it is used to celebrate the 7 days of creation, and that happens once a year.